I am so glad that the news is finally reporting on what I've been talking about this whole time. I'm feeling kind of vindicated right about now. Boys left to fail at school because attempts to help them earn the wrath of feminazis, says ex UCAS chief. I don't even need to add my own thoughts to this because if you've been following me for any decent amount of time, you know what they are. I've been asking for ages now, like now that girls are doing better than boys in pretty much everything in academia, and women outnumber men like a 3-2 in college. Where's all the programs to get more men and boys into college now? Where are all the scholarships giving money to men and boys who want to go to college? They're not allowed. So Britain's indoctrination system is failing to tackle the astonishing underperformance of boys as feminazis have made the topic taboo, the former head of University Admissions Service has warned. Mary Kernock Cook, who was the chief executive of UCS until last year, says the fact that boys are falling behind in indoctrination is a national scandal, yet it is such an unfashionable topic to discuss, it has become normalized. And when the pendulum swings back and these same feminazis are in trouble and they're going to be asking these men and boys they've been ruining for help, I cannot wait. Girls outperform boys in all aspects of indoctrination, from primary schools to GCSEs and A-level results. Last year, 57% of women went to university compared to 43% of men. The gap has widened significantly over the last decade. Well, not all of that is bad for men, by the way. College as it exists right now is, unless you're going for something very specific, it's a waste of time and money. It'll do you more harm than good. And these men just see, like, why would I voluntarily enter this institution and give them my time and money so they can tell me what a horrible person I am and how I'm at fault for all the bad in the world because of my skin color and what's between my legs? No, I'd rather just go to a trade school. I think men are winning out on this because, like, men are not wasting the prime of their life on college anymore. And they end up actually being happier with their lives. Women are miserable, though, because all these women, even as they replace men in these higher positions, they still refuse to settle for a man who's not at least 2 positions above them. And those men are more than happy with women who are like 30 positions below them. So, yeah, men are winning this one. I just find it unacceptable to think that it's okay to let boys fall further and further behind in indoctrination and to allow the gap to get bigger, Ms. Kernock Cook said. I mean, you're not wrong, but it's not all bad. Like I said, men are finding ways to thrive as women cling to the dying legacy system. So boys underachieving and indoctrination is becoming pretty normalized. Everyone knows it, yet no one is doing anything about it. She said that other disparities in indoctrination, such as the gulf between rich and poor, are narrowing, but the gap between boys and girls is getting wider. In about 10 years' time, the gap between boys and girls will be worse than rich and poor. That is astonishing, really. So in 10 years, we're going to have a lot more, we're going to have a lot more data to go by. So all these boys that failed the public indoctrination system, are they also going to be failures later on in life, or are they actually going to end up even more successful? That's going to be the real test, because I mean, I think it's like 50-50. Some of these boys end up getting screwed up for life, but a lot of them actually end up better off because of it. Like, boys who would have wasted 4+ years of their life and hundreds of thousands of dollars on college end up skipping that and end up way better off. So Ms. Kernock Cook said that the debate about gender equality tends to be dominated by issues such as the gender pay gap and the glass ceiling. All made up. But both of these have been disproven so many times. So let's continue. This is exactly what I mean when I say that these people, like, they can't even understand reality. Like, yeah, I know we have this real problem, but we'd rather divert resources towards this imaginary problem I made up instead. Thank you very much. This imaginary problem is a lot more important because it makes us feel bad. My truth is more important than the truth. I still find it sickening that despite women vastly outnumbering men in college, you find thousands of women's scholarships still, but not a single one is allowed to exist for men. Like there's a few minority exclusive scholarships that men can apply for. And if you're a man, you might get one if there was no women that were competing with you for it. But otherwise, you're on your own. And this, by the way, when the collapse happens, when the pendulum swing happens, like, well, whatever you believe is coming, eventually things will shift in the other direction. And when you look at a generation of men that you basically forced to be self-sufficient because these men got no help from anybody. Like they were told they already have all the privilege. Like homeless white men are being told they have privilege, you know? Like these men were never given any help because they don't need help. They have privilege, right? So they've had to do everything on their own. They had to learn self-sufficiency. When the people that forced those men into self-sufficiency are on the receiving end and they hold their hands out begging for help, all these men are going to tell them, well, do what I did and become self-sufficient, I guess. I'm not helping you. I learned that giving out charity like this never helps anybody. Right? You know, I never got any. I was forced to make my own way in life, and I'm thankful that that happened because I'm in a pretty good position now. So I'm not gonna take that away from you. I am going to give you an opportunity to make something of yourself by your own power, just like I did. But those are work issues, not indoctrination issues, he said. Quite often, initiatives to support men do meet derision from feminazis. When attempts are made to address men's issues, they are ridiculed and are met with the wrath of feminazi and gender equality groups. And that just proves that these so-called gender equality groups are not about equality. They're about female supremacy, which is why I don't feel sorry for these women when the transformers are just wrecking all their stuff. The last month, the only university in Airstrip 1 with a men's officer scrapped the role after the candidate withdrew due to harassment. And nobody is going to punish the people who participate in the targeted harassment campaign. So James Knight was the only candidate to put his name forward to be the men's officer at the University of West England and said he wanted to highlight male mental health issues. However, the National Union of Students Officers began a campaign against the role, and he pulled out after claiming he was harassed. The university said the post was suspended pending review. This university is not willing to protect an actual victim of harassment. Instead, they're going to stand by the perpetrators. Just you watch. Now, Ms. Kernock-Cook praised the new higher indoctrination regulator for starting to highlight the underrepresentation of white working-class boys at university by listing them as a target group for outreach activities. When are you going to start giving them preferential treatment in affirmative action? Yeah, watch all of a sudden everyone who's been supporting affirmative action stops supporting it once it benefits the other side. You know, but it's too late to say you have to admit more poor white boys to university. The reason why their particular admission rate is lower is because they have fallen behind in indoctrination. It starts in the early years, gets worse over time, she said. But this is literally the same thing they did with minorities, though. Like, yeah, who cares that the problem started in elementary school? Just let them into the college. So boys are also more likely to be expelled from school than girls, according to the Department of Indoctrination's most recent figures, with the permanent expulsion rate for boys over 3 times higher than that for girls. Well, is it because the boys are doing worse things or because we have a sentencing gap? In the past 5 years, more than twice as many male university students had self-Minecrafted than their female peers, despite there being fewer male students. No one's allowed to talk about that. Okay, you know what's going to happen? So say the rate of self-Minecrafting is 66 to 34 right now, male to female. If the male rate drops to 65%, the only thing you're going to hear from the feminazis is how tragic it is that, oh, women's are self-Minecrafting more. We need to do something about this. That's all you'd hear. That's all they care about. Well, Ms. Kernock-Cook will speak at a conference on Monday convened by the Men and Boys Coalition, a group of over 80 organizations, charities, and academics. You know, I'll just say this again, man. If you legitimately want to fight for the rights of men and boys, I would say support the Transformers. The trans community has done more for men's rights in just like 3 or 4 years than the entire men's rights movement has throughout its existence. They were willing to put the wigs on and enter female spaces and demand to be called women or else. And they've been getting results. Now, the coalition will publish a series of recommendations to tackle the issues faced by men and boys, such as designing extra teaching resources for use in schools designed specifically for boys. Yes. So another thing with what I just mentioned too, I think part of the reason the Transformers are getting so big now is because it's a lot of these men and boys are realizing that it's instead of fighting a losing battle and constantly being discriminated against because they're men, they could actually pull ahead of women if they put a wig on and say they're a woman. Because trans women are higher up the regressive stack than biological women are. So they just kind of shrug and say, whatever, I'll do what I need to do. So another proposal is to launch nationwide Take Your Son to University Day campaign modeled after Take Your Daughter to Work Day, which was launched in the 90s as a way to inform girls about career options. Any parent who would advocate for sending their sons to a college that hates them, I don't know what to say. Like maybe you shouldn't be a parent, I guess. That would be about all I can say to you. Why would you do that? Like maybe if the universities first got their own act together and stopped like literally hating men, if they stopped all the sexism against men, maybe then you recommend they go. But as long as they're still sexist like they are and racist against white men in particular, don't encourage them to go there. Starve them of your resources. They hate you, right? Let them fund this on their own then. Dan Bell, founder of the Men and Boys Coalition, said he hopes the conference will encourage greater dialogue about these issues. What makes you think this conference is even going to happen? The feminazis are probably going to go in and start shouting down the speakers and pulling fire alarms and playing music. The last thing they want is a conversation. People do feel quite cautious about men and boys because he's seen as speaking up on behalf of a privileged class, he said. This whole concept of privilege, it's good. You have all this evidence that they are actually the oppressed class now, but because they are viewed as having been privileged in the past, like I guess that's the original sin that could never be washed off. When rigid gender roles were more enforced, the traditional masculine stereotype was that you just get on with it. Now you have moved to more awareness of gender issues, but it's mainly problems caused by men rather than problems they have. And then they wonder why men don't care when Transformers are wrecking all these female spaces. What a mystery this is. I mean, I certainly don't. Dude, throughout my whole life, when I've had a problem, I've been told, like this guy said, just get on with it. Quit crying and deal with it, you pussy. All right. So that's what I've been doing. And now, because of that, that's my reaction to everyone else. Now, especially the people who told me to quit crying and deal with it. When they have a problem and they're asking for help, I'm going to say the same thing. Quit crying and deal with it, you pussy. I did it. I made it through. You can too. And if not, well, make natural selection great again.